welcome, ma'am. Today the theme that we have chosen for our discussion is Sitare Zameen Pe. And often when we speak about special children, the discourse gravitates us towards challenges. But if we look a little bit beyond, there is something far more luminous than just the challenges. Each kid shines in its own way brighter. And today, this is exactly what we are going to be discussing, which is a topic which resonates very profoundly with us. And I'm very glad that today you are a part of our discussion. You've been a pioneer in this field yourself, being an educationist, and having done so much for the special children. So thank you so much, ma'am, for being a part of our discussion. And to start off with, I would like to know a little bit about your journey. What has motivated you to mantle this entire issue of special children at Sundarji Global Academia?
Just let me thank Cedrus well for inviting me for this podcast. So, when I think of my journey, I think my journey started in school in a very simple way. I was a mediocre girl at that time in school, but I think there were certain capacities, your strengths would outshine as you grow up. And I think that's exactly what must have happened along the way. I went to a convent school and then I went to a convent based college. And that's where I found my calling in education. It was not a decision that I felt that I want to go to education. Things happen organically. And that journey in college and school, made me move towards education. After marriage and the kids, I moved to Pune. And that's where my actually journey began with education. I worked as a kindergarten principal, and I realized that there were a lot of when you work with kindergarteners, that's the way you start with, right? So the kindergarteners were the changing point in my life, and I felt that there were a lot of differently children, differently able kids who had a lot of strengths, and they had their weaknesses. They were neurotypical kids, and I just felt that I needed to give a place to everybody in this field of education. I couldn't fit them into a mold. So when I started looking at things differently in education at the kindergarten level, I found my calling. And that's how Sundarji's Global Academia came in. That time it was called Sundarji Nursery School, then
Right.
Sundarji's Institutions, and now Sundarji's Global Academia. And I think that's where the seed of my dream laid, where every neurotypical or a neurodiverse kid has to find their calling and has to be where they belong to. And that's how this entire journey came, and the rest is history. We kept on opening one institutes of after the other, but the dream is to see that both of them strive together, accept it, and also find their strengths and weakness together, so you make a better society.
That's a very inspiring journey, ma'am. I think your vision of inclusivity is something what is giving us all a perspective as to how we can make an effort towards the special child as a whole. And that takes us to this whole theme of Sitare Zameen Pe.
Mm.
So each child in its own capacity is shining, and when we talk about special child, I would like to know what is your perspective and your definition of it, and how can we create impact?
So Tare Zameen Pe, first I think Amir Khan paved the way of Tare Zameen Pe.
Right.
And then he made us aware of what is learning difficulties. Then the whole world started talking about learning difficulties. Now when and then after so many movies and there were movements and awareness and advocacy and all. But Sitare Zameen Pe paved the way for another way to look at children with other kind of abilities, like that's Down syndromes and ADHD and
Mhm.
autism and those kind of things. I think every child in neurodiversity is Sitare Zameen Pe. Means the sky is full of, it's not only about the stars. The sky has galaxies and Milky Ways and, a whole lot of things. So if you actually take the term Sitare Zameen Pe, I would look at it like that some stars shine very brightly, some twinkle actually very softly, and the others are behind the clouds. So I would look as every child in neurodiversity as sitare in the sky. But when they come together, they make the sky very beautiful. And that's my concept of Sitare Zameen Pe. Like, if I want to look at every kid, I want them to thrive in our world. where they might shine brightly, softly, twinkle, and also have their own way of giving to what our earth needs or what our planet would need. And I think that's how I would look at the concept of Sitare Zameen Pe.
Very wellly articulated, ma'am. Like, this shows us how inclusivity can, create impact, shining bright, shining subtle. Then the whole concept is they being able to, feel included. But today also, when we speak about, special kids or children with special abilities, there are a lot of myths and misconceptions. There's a whole cloud of misconceptions that the society still holds. If you could help us, burst myths and misconceptions so that, we could all dwell deeper, as to how, what are the misconceptions that one can, discover.
So the most important misconception is the moment the child is recognized with a special ability, the society feels that they cannot thrive. They have to be segregated. They have to be separated. The parents are there's no inclusion as such. So an autism kid is just thrown out of various societies because he has so many. He screams at times. He has so many sensory sensitivity. So the first myth I think is that they have no place in the society. But with the right kind of support, with the right kind of techniques, with the right kind of assistive devices, with the right kind of therapies, they could be included into our normal societal, the so called in inverted commas. The second myth is the parental, the way the society looks at the parent.
Mm.
They feel these parents have no right to be among themselves. I've seen it at our own school. The neurotypical children at my kindergarten would say, ये तो पागल है. Why should they be with our kids, or why should these parents come at the same time? In fact, even when they are coming together at the gate, our other parents, neurotypical parents, would say, no, 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 we should come at a different time. So that is a second myth I want to burst about the parents not being accepted.
Mm.
The third myth is that these children have amazing abilities and strengths. So, for our society to understand that you may not be able to do an invention what they may be able to do because they're constantly thinking out of box. An ADHD kid is so creative that he may have an invention which purely an academic kid may not be able to do.
Absolutely.
So there are these kinds of little myths that we need to burst. And with overall, if I have to pass on a messages, please include them because tomorrow, today 1 into 36 birth is neuro diverse kids. So you mean that tomorrow you will have a society of so many children who have special abilities.
Right.
Then what would you do?
I think that that question and that one data what you've given, that leaves us thought provoking. That definitely we need to, as a society, help them being included into the
Right.
mainstream. And in fact, my next question to you was that only, that while we are, you've bursted the myths around, you've cleared the air around the special cases. You were just mentioning that, the talents what they have are unmatched, and that was actually one of my next questions. That from your experience, what are the distinctive qualities that they contribute to, both within the classrooms and the society at large?
So they have this exceptional abilities, most of them. We have about 21 kind of special needs today: ADHD,
Mhm.
Down syndromes, autism, learning difficulties, cerebral palsy. What they bring to the classroom is something which the neurotypical kids are not able to bring in. So, a person who has sensory sensitivity in autism will observe the minutest detail which you may miss out.
Right.
They can proofread like the way you cannot proofread. They can, if you give them a logo, they will exactly tell you how it is, millimeter by millimeter, how it has differed. So certain professions are just cut off for them. An autistic kid is so structured that he'll make your bed 21,000 times the same way and
Oh.
absolutely the same thing which you and I get bored of. So their weaknesses could be turned into strength. So they bring that kind of things in the classroom. They are unapologetic. They are absolutely authentic, and they are absolutely brilliant and honest and transparent, which we as human beings, we keep on masking our behaviors. They don't know what is masking behavior. So that honesty, transparency, unapologetically, be what they are, makes us learn a lot from them. And I think that's what is very important for our neurotypical kids who, use constant defense mechanism to hide their failures and, what challenges that they cannot cope up with. So I think if you have a neurodiverse kid with neurotypical, you'll have a lot to learn from them. And I think that's where the society would grow and real inclusion would take place.
I think that's a very powerful reminder that you've given, from shifting our focus to from limitations to possibilities.
Yes.
The richness what they bring to the table is far superior than what one thinks of. And you were just mentioning previously that parents also sometimes are looked upon differently, and parents and families do feel that they're overwhelmed by the response that they get. So what should the parents keep in mind, who have special child, or how the peers play an important role, the empathy that they may bring in shaping their future going forward?
First, I want to tell the parents, the moment you hear a diagnosis, it's like you hear the cancer and you can only think of negative things. The first question that comes to your mind in cancer is whether I live or not,
Right.
what's going to happen to my family, what about the chemo. Same way up, the moment you get a diagnosis, I think it's the most terrible effect on our parents.
Mm.
So I think that is the time they need a lot of support. So we as educationists, therapists, have to dilute this entire trauma that they face. First
Mm.
step, we always tell the parents, breathe. The labels don't change the love for your child. The moment a label comes in and a diagnostic sheet comes in, everything changes. It's the same child you had held yesterday, you had hugged, and you had loved. So definitely this label cannot change the kid. Secondly, is you will not walk this journey alone. So you will need a lot of support. Let's make that support system, and let's not hide ourselves in saying that we don't need the
Mm.
support. So it could be the grandparents, it could be your best friends, it could be your inner circle of your family. You will need that support. So let's make three circles, the inner circle, which would be the family members, the grandparents, the outer circles, the friends you can trust, and an extended circle, which is the school and the therapy. Secondly, is that you need to live your life the way you were living before.
Mm.
You can't say, I'm giving up weddings and I'm giving up movies and I'm giving up my thing just because this child has been diagnosed as neurodiverse. The way you continued life, you need your me time, you need your mental health, you need your physical health, you need to laugh. So continue with it. And don't be that perfectionist parent that I want to do everything for this.
Mm.
It's not possible.
True.
So the way you were, it's not possible to be, I mean, doing everything for this kid. Do your best, try your best. Most important is celebrate small success of the child. A neurotypical kid shows a report card and then you hug and you do. But for this neurodiverse kid, even walking that two steps, brushing teeth and picking up a brush and doing it by himself is success. So those little milestones have to be celebrated larger than life. Progress is different for everybody.
Right.
But the moment you do that, these five, six things, and take time off, have your kitty parties, do all that, and you'll be a happy parent. Last but not the least is plan for the future.
Right.
Because COVID has taught us many things, and many of the children lost their parents in
Mm.
COVID. And I think to plan, to see that they have enough to survive, appoint a legal heir, have a will, all that are parent support system in the long run. So I think they should be doing that.
I think your advice has given all the parents who are, watching us today, a lot of comfort that, how should they look upon going forward and what they should keep in mind. I think not being the perfectionist parent is the key takeaway for all those
Yes,
watching today. I think celebrating small successes rather than going into the intricacies, that's something what will help the parents also to get that comfort and, deal with tough situations that
definitely.
might come arise.
Yeah.
That's a very valuable input, and I think all the parents that who are watching us today will get a lot of comfort I think not being a perfectionist parent is something which is a very valuable key to takeaway for all those who are watching us today. Not parents, but even friends and the society today who might be having, a special child in their fraternity. I'm sure, they would get that comforting feeling after hearing to what you've just mentioned. And sometimes we get too much into the intricacies and we don't celebrate small success. And that is, I think, the way to take things forward. There could be some difficult days, some tough days, and I think if the parents and the friends keep in mind this one input, I'm sure it'll be a lot more easier.
I'm
uh,
sure about it.
right. I know, going to the next moving forward and going to the next question, I'd like to hear from you about your own institution, ma'am. So I would like to know that, how do you approach inclusive education at Sundarji Global Academia? What are the practices or some frameworks that you follow? Oh,
So Sundarji's under Sundarji's Global Academia, we have a kindergarten, which is absolutely inclusive of children with special needs. Then we have a teachers training institute where all the courses of teachers training, professional development take place. We also have an autism course with Dinanath Mangeshkar Hospital. Then we have a Sundarji's Institute of Special School, which has approximately more than 200 plus children. Then we have a early intervention center, Sundarji's Early Intervention Center, where children are just diagnosed
hmm.
in every kind of disability or abilities, and then they come to us for early intervention. That is from the year 2 years to 7 years. But we try to get them school readiness and put them into either mainstream school or special school. And of course, recently in the month of July, we opened our Sundarji's Institute of Vocational Center, which is for young adults above 18. And that's where we started a 3 years vocational degree course and then giving employment after 3 years.
Oh, lovely.
We've done a lot of research onto it, and we've got five skills that they will master in housekeeping, culinary and baking, gardening, job literacy, digital literacy, job readiness, fabric enhancement. It's like a proper college, 9 to 3:30 for them. And the young adults feel very great that they are coming to college with the kind of input that they need. And we really made this premises like for young adolescents, it's calming, it's schooling. We've got a gym for them. So this is a little about all our institute. And to supplement to it, we've got a mainstream school where we practice inclusion, which is called Suyog Sundarji Wisdom School. It's a CBSE school.
Okay.
Now, when we feel that all children cannot go to mainstream
Hmm.
school, some who can go, we definitely put them. Some will go to special school. What are the practices that you practice for inclusion is that your mainstream school, right from the time the child sits in the school bus till he goes back home, inclusion is practiced. So our school bus would have those kind of sensory issues taken care of. A child would wear sound cancellations before between the driver's seat and all. He would have a net. Some sensory toys would be there,
Hmm.
fidget toys, so he's calm and quiet. The moment he gets down from the bus, there are teachers who know their special abilities or sound sensitivities, so they would take care of it. There would be a ramp. Right, the corridors, hallway would have something for them to dwell into. They would have push up walls. They would
Okay.
have rounds of the ground. The moment you go to the classroom, they'll have a set of things that support their inclusion. So there is a universal design for learning where everything that is taught to them is in different modals. So you'll have something visionary, I mean visual perception, then there would be something auditory instructions, hands-on activities. We have kits for them. That's in the classroom. The classroom would have the child's learner's profile stating what kind of need, what kind of assessment, how is he to be treated, does he have epilepsy, what kind of medications. So that would be one. All the instructions are differentiated. So we use a universal design of learning. During the course of the classroom, he'll have his movement break, sensory break. He would go to the sensory garden, he'll go to the sensory room where he gets his therapy. So there is a proper circuit happening. When we alert the child, when we organize his environment, then calm him down for at least 5 hours. Then we also would have teachers, reducing their study skill time. They get sheets to be taken home where, the entire chapter is trimmed, so they don't have to go through a lot of textbooks. We will use assistive devices. A lot of things are used. They are marked and assessed differently, the way their assessments could be. Their report card is different. You don't have a mark grading
Mm.
system for them. Plus, during the lunch break, they have peer and buddy system. They have clients project. Sometimes, we get clients to design a project by them. So all their abilities, their strengths, they have clubs to go to. So the entire inclusion process is taken care of.
It's very heartwarming to know that, how inclusivity is woven in, Sundarji's,
Yes.
and, how they can also be brought into the mainstream. So that's very, very wonderful to know about. And, the way you said, the practices and the frameworks that you've tried to create a full ecosystem that shows that, education is just not a system, but a
Right.
place where everybody can be included, and we as a society can create an ecosystem for them going forward where their futures can be shaped.
Yes. This ecosystem is very important.
Right.
This ecosystem has to be extended in society
Hmm.
and at home and in the family. Otherwise, it will not, the fabric will not last.
Right, right. uh, when we speak about ecosystem, definitely the education institution, parents, peers, as we just spoke about, they matter. But what is more important is the systems also today. So
Right.
it's very important to have the right policies, the right systems when we speak about education by and large, so that their futures can be shaped. You definitely making an impact. But looking ahead, what changes do you hope to see in the India's education system for them, particularly the next decade for the special children?
Yes, so India is moving absolutely after NEP. We are moving, uh, I think we are just moving in a Senate period for the education. But lots is being done in neurotypical
Hmm.
space. We
Hmm.
still have a long, long way to go when we talk of neurodiversity. I think the policies that the government will make, and not only they are making policies, but what about the implementation? Policies are made, but if there's no implementation, we are going to take 10 steps backwards. So that's the most important thing. I feel that we should be doing it. The government will have to play a very, very strong role, considering that 19% of our children have learning difficulties,
Hmm.
6% of the children have ADHD, 1 into 35 births today is autism, and I can keep on giving you staggering figures. 12 million of our children are already neurodiverse. So definitely, unless it doesn't come from the higher up, we are going to face a lot of problem. Secondly is, will our schools do inclusion in its true way? I do not say that every child has to be included in the mainstream school, but the ones who can, they have to be there. But inclusion not is not just a lip word.
True.
They'll have to change the ecosystem of a school to include there. One resource room with two special educators for 100 children who have neurodiversity is something that I think it's an eye wash for
Hmm.
all of us. So that's also going to be a problem. We have a lot of reservations, right? We constantly we fight for reservations, for this reservation, that reservation. I think the all of us need to wake up and say, even if we don't give them reservations, can we give these children employability,
Hmm.
a place in our society, and can their voices be heard? That's very important. What about rural India, where primary health centers are missing, right? So can what most of our population of neurodiverse is also there. Big cities, you have lots to take care. Can our government hospital have child development centers where they get at a very nominal rate their therapy is done? Because today for a parent, a 800 rupees therapy is not affordable.
True.
So I think changing this ecosystem will be very important.
Right.
And slowly, steadily, we will have to do that. So, very a loud message that we need to send is, let our primary health centers have child development centers. Let our leading hospitals have child development centers. Can we have a disability card? We have a certificate, for them to travel free, or it is there in the policy but it's not implemented.
Right.
So that is what I feel that we would be doing.
Right, and I think government policies will help, educationists like you. It'll help you as a catalyst to, achieve the vision that
Yes.
today you are aiming, by getting in the college, having a degree course for the, the young adults, bringing them into the mainstream. But I think government policies will help you shaping their futures, and,
Definitely.
will inspire many such like you educationists to delve into this and help this entire build up this entire ecosystem. So, and as you said, it's an eye opener for all of us today. And, as we discussed, you helped us to dispel the myths around them. How can parents make an impact? How can we as a society make an impact? And it's so important to address this issue. And I'm so
Right.
glad that, we could have you today with us to, give all of us such valuable inputs, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
On behalf of Cedrus, I would like to thank you for the valuable time, and the work that you're doing is incredible. And I
Thank you.
wish you all the best with the new, the venture, the new college that you started, and definitely it's an inspiration for all of us today.
Thank you so much. I would like to thank Nilesh sir for it. And I think my closing statement would be, can we have all the sitare zameen pe, not in the sky but on earth? The day they find their true place, their voices be heard, the day they are employed, I think India will truly become sitare zameen pe. Then we will not need Amir Khan to make a movie for us.
Very, very, very rightly said, ma'am.
Cedrus Wealth Partners, orchestrating distinctive wealth management proficiency since 2007. We deliver transparent, unbiased, and comprehensive investment solutions. Today, we manage more than 3,000 crore rupees in assets, proudly serve over 1,000 families and 3,000 individual investors, and with a team of 26 experienced professionals, we help our clients achieve their financial goals. Our 360 degrees wealth management approach integrates investment planning, risk management, tax optimization, and legacy planning. We focus on the 4 essential pillars of financial planning to create a strong foundation for your financial future. Our advisory process is mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. We provide uncomplicated advice. No ULIPs, no NFOs, and no structured products. Our portfolio offerings include managed equity solutions for superior risk-adjusted returns, novel offerings including hidden gems that provide pre-IPO and niche investment opportunities, and alternate investment solutions like private equity, real estate, private capital, and multi-index investment strategy. From humble beginnings in 2007, Cedrus has grown with a commitment to innovation, excellence, and trust. With a global presence in key cities, Cedrus continues to redefine wealth management with innovation and trust. Discover the Cedrus difference. Your financial success is our mission. Contact us today to begin your journey.